Hello, I'm Brian Byrne, EMVCo Director of Operations. Welcome to EMVCo's webcast on Mobile Level 1 and Cloud-Based Mobile Payments Approvals, part of our series exploring key EMVCo initiatives. In August 2016, EMVCo announced that it now provides formal industry approval to confirm that contactless mobile payment-enabled devices can operate seamlessly with EMV Level 1 approved payment acceptance terminals. The new approval process incorporates Level 1 tests traditionally managed by the individual payment systems, bringing efficiencies to the process and reducing time to market. In this webcast, Keith Fojtik, Chair of the Card Approval Working Group, offers insight into the focus and nature of EMVCo's mobile testing and approval activities. Keith, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Hi, I'm Keith Fojtik. I am current chair of the EMVCo Card Approval Working Group. So today I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about our approval process and some of the things we're doing when it comes to mobile. So for a while now, we've been doing contactless mobile payment, and we've relied on devices that support secure elements. So whether that is a UICC or an embedded secure element type. However, today we're introduced to new technologies as we continue to move forward, where a secure element is not always needed, or such things where things are remote payment or software-based secure elements. So EMVCo is engaged in this in order to update their own standards and specifications to provide that needed interoperability across various devices, as well as supporting the various payment networks. So today we've started with the specifications. We've introduced guideline documentation, all related to devices with embedded secure elements. But as we keep evolving, we're updating this to be able to support the different forms of execution environments that may exist, whether it's software-based or hardware-based, and we update our standards accordingly. So for example, we have a few things we've done already and continue to work on. So we publish documentation on a regular basis. We have, for example, our cloud-based security best practice guide. So this is for new HCE implementations to provide some guidance and recommendations when it comes to security aspects, as the OS within a handset may not have the same level of security as a traditional chip-based secure model. As well as we update other documentation to provide more information. So our use case guide for mobile security and our best practices. So here I'm going to talk about a few things. So today, as I said, we've introduced HCE, or host card emulation, software-based products. So this allows us to have a little something different from the traditional mobile payment ecosystem. So where the traditional model was all the application and the cryptographic aspects were performed and processed within a chip-based secure element, with HCE we now have those functions, cryptography, credentials, the application itself outside of a chip-based secure element. So it does add a different level of security and security requirements. HCE also introduces the use of the cloud as a host to perform credential processing, where the traditional secure element from a chip point of view didn't need to do that on a regular basis. So this allows us to basically migrate and kind of update our own processes to address, new methods of mitigation, whether it's, white box cryptography, a trust zone or a TE or server-based cryptography in the cloud. In addition, we're also addressing things we're changing with an embedded secure element. So with the embedded secure element, we have to address new things like multiple execution environments, as opposed to traditionally when we were just having a single execution environment. So we have done things to update our own documentation to address this, as well as we've done things where, for example, we've published a level 1 type approval test applet requirement. So this allowed vendors who are using embedded secure elements to be able to develop an application to allow EMVCo to test the level 1 functionality of their mobile device. As traditionally with a UICC, we didn't have that challenge. However, but with the embedded secure element, it's not always known what is on that particular chip. So we may run into situations where we may not be able to test traditionally in the aspect that we expect to. As mentioned before, we're also working on how do we test and work with hybrid models. So whether it's just a 2 execution environment, HCE and embedded secure element, for example, or if it's 3 execution environments supporting a UICC implementation, embedded secure element, and HCE. Lastly, we continue to work on our level 1 type approval work to update this and continue to improve and expand it. So as I will talk further on, but some of the things we're doing is we've introduced performance testing, starting with UICC functional handsets, and we will continue to update that and improve that process, for example, for embedded secure element models as well as HCE. So what do we have today? So we have a number of documents on EMVCo's website to provide information as well as guidance to vendors, issuers, merchants, anybody who wants to take a look to provide information on what we have. So we have a number of specifications when it comes to mobile payment. So for example, on the left here on the screen, you can see, for example, we have the application activation user interface, our specification which defines the information for our PBSE application. We have the actual administrative process for type approval. This explains to you how to go through EMVCo's process when it comes to our approvals, as well as EMV profiles for global platform UICC configuration. So this provides different information as well as recommended profiles that global platform supports. In addition, we have a number of guidelines just to provide information with regards to best practices when it comes to security, architecture overviews for the mobile payment itself, as well as other information requirements and considerations, specifically when it comes to mobile point of sales. So as we learn more as an industry, as we learn more as EMVCo, we publish more information to provide what support and what information we can to everyone's out there. So we recommend people look at these documents and these guidelines. Now with regards to our actual approval process, traditionally we were focused on really just the hardware to begin with, so the hardware and the security of the mobile payment device. And it was originally managed independently by each of the payment systems prior to EMVCo. So EMVCo got involved because we wanted to have a consistent approach, a global consideration where EMVCo could provide a single source of approval that could be recognized by the different payment networks as well as anybody else that would recognize and accept an approval by EMVCo. This would allow us to provide more of a one-stop environment for vendors to go get testing approved. So at the end of December 2015, EMVCo implemented the first step with that. We had what was referred to as the TAS process, which I'll talk a little more ahead of this. So this was our first step of coming together as EMVCo and bringing the different testing methodologies into a single environment where vendors could get the benefit of going through a single process. Since then, we have enhanced our process to go from what was originally referred to as the TAS process to an actual approval process. So this began March of 2016. We've actually introduced our approval process for mobile handsets, which include UICCs, embedded secure element implementations, as well as HCE. So for a testing point of view, we have basically two different aspects when it comes to testing. We have the mobile products itself, which we address our level 1, the card emulation aspects of the device, and then we have the secure element. So when it comes to the mobile product, the handset or whatever other device it might be, a wearable device or something like that, we address analog, digital, performance, and interoperability. So these are the key components which we address when we talk about level 1 testing. We've introduced with our approval process performance and interoperability. This did not previously exist when we were going through our original process of the TAS coverage. But we've introduced this to simplify the process again and enhance test coverage because we are addressing more of the original payment network requirements that don't necessarily need to be covered again if EMVCo is addressing that. One thing to note is as of this past July 2016, we have had an update to our process. Originally, mobile devices, phones specifically, had a waiver in the past where they were not required to meet the full 4 centimeter requirements for the RF operation volume. This was within our specifications. This was originally brought down to 2 centimeters for a while, as we knew in the beginning of mobile payment, mobile devices were having trouble meeting these requirements. So as of July 2015, we had published an updated bulletin saying this waiver would be no longer in effect as of 2016. And now we've met that date. So as of July 2016, all mobile devices are expected to meet the 4 centimeter requirement for the RF volume. And then lastly, on the level 1 side here in this slide, we are updating and always reviewing our process to better streamline the effects, what benefits we can give to testing, and looking at possibilities and new form factors, specifically wearables. So we will continue to do that, provide updated documentation as that becomes available. So also with our testing, with regards to secure elements, we basically cover 2 main aspects. So we have the security evaluation portion of the chip, as well as the level 2 testing. The level 2 testing pretty much focuses on our PBSE application. In addition, we recognize testing by global platform. So with regards to SWP, HCI level 1 testing. This is not performed by EMV, but it's performed by global platform. We're also looking at other potential updates to our process, specifically when it comes to revising how we test the PBSE for embedded secure elements, as well as support for multiple interfaces. So here is a slide of our approval process. So we have on the left the original TAS process that was introduced at the end of 2015, and on the right we have the EMVCo approval process that was introduced in March of 2016. So the original TAS process, this, as I said before, only addressed analog and digital testing. And in the beginning, it only addressed testing support for UICC mobile phone implementations. It was later updated to address embedded secure element as well, but it only ever addressed analog and digital testing. But what it gave EMVCo in the beginning was an outlet to have one set of testing that was recognized by all the payment systems. So a vendor could bring their phone in, mobile device, or whatever else it might be, get analog and digital testing, and receive a test assessment summary, or a TAS, which they could show to the different payment networks that they had done this testing. It was recognized by the various payment networks, and then all the networks had to do was any additional testing on top of that in order to complete approval. But it wasn't in a complete approval at that time. When we introduced the actual approval process, we introduced, not only did we add HCE implementations to the different execution environments that we could address, this is where we also introduced performance and interoperability testing. So this, again, strength testing encompassed more of our testing and allowed us to give a full letter of approval to a mobile device, assuming it passed all the requirements of EMVCo. So we had a single certification by EMVCo that was recognized by the different payment systems. So it is important to note that At this point in time, the task process is now coming to an end. So it is slated to be sunset September 30th on 2016. So as I said, the approval process has been active since March and will continue on. So with the approval process itself, as I mentioned, we introduced two new aspects with regards to testing, performance and interoperability. So performance is really focused on the speed of the transaction or the speed of getting the information from the mobile device to the terminal. So today our testing is focused on UICC implementations only. We are actually looking at the information or how long it takes the handset itself to take the information that's being sent from the secure element across the mobile phone to the terminal running the transaction. So we are able to separate the actual processing of the handset versus the processing of the secure element when we look at performance aspects. So that is not quite as easy to do when it comes to embedded secure element or HCE implementations. However, we do plan to introduce performance for those two execution environments, but this will be done at a later date. We're looking at probably late 2016 or beginning of 2017 to introduce performance for those execution environments. With regards to interoperability testing, so this is really checking the mobile device against real terminals in real applications. So we have a pool of terminals at our various EMVCo labs that have been identified by the different payment networks, have the different payment network applications on them. So with that, we're able to do real transactions as a part of our testing with different payment applications as well as different handset orientations from different heights, so from 0 to 4 centimeters, as well as different orientations. So whether it's presented directly at the phone or turned 90 degrees, for example, as well as checking the different protocols, type A versus type B. So for secure element testing, we focus on 3 different things. So we have what we kind of refer as our prerequisite, this with regards to the EMVCo security evaluation itself, so the firmware of the chip, as well as we recognize global platform security evaluation. So this may include the SWP HCI level 1 aspects. We have our second part, which is the platform security evaluation. This is where we're looking at and evaluating the IC with the OS, the runtime environment, the platform environment, as well as checking the various aspects of the platform for storage, execution space, the services itself, making sure everything is secure and running as expected. Lastly, we have, as I said before, the level 2 aspect, the evaluation. So this is where we are checking the activation or deactivation of applications on the secure element, and where we do the actual testing of the PBSE, the Proximity Payment System Environment application. So for secure testing and approval of PBSE, we have basically a little difference when it comes to mobile devices versus traditional contactless card. So originally with contactless cards, it was a bit more simplistic because the information was personalized on the card, it was presented to the terminal, and the terminal selected the first contactless application that it was able to run with. On a mobile device, it's a little bit different because the PBSE can be dynamically changed or presented a little differently depending on the current customer consumer choice. So as a user, as a consumer, on the mobile device, I may open up a wallet and select an application to be run. When I make that selection, the PBSE updates itself or modifies itself to reflect that choice. So when I present my mobile phone to a terminal, it's getting the PBSE related to the application that I chose, as opposed to on a contactless card, showing all the contactless applications to the terminal and allowing the terminal to choose the contactless application to be run. On the mobile device, I've made that selection itself and it is presented only to the terminal at that point. This is defined within our EMVCo application activation user interface specification, and this functionality is tested as a part of our level 2 application testing. So with some of the things we've done, so now we've been facing embedded secure elements as well as HCE. We've come across some new challenges that we continue to work on and try and update to. So for example, with embedded secure elements, we've seen multiple interfaces, as well as interfaces that may be used or not used as part of the final product. So for example, we may have interfaces such as ISO standards or SWPHCI or proprietary interfaces. So as EMVCo, how do we handle that, and how do we do that as part of our testing? So some of the things we've done is, one, we've begun updating our own documentation to be able to cover these different interfaces. So we ask on our implementation conformance statement, what interfaces are you using? Are you using multiple interfaces? And if so, what are they? So this gives us the ability to perform more testing, not duplicating the entire process, but do additional testing on the different interfaces to make sure the communication to the embedded secure element, or whether it's a UICC, for example, works as expected as part of our testing, and it can be identified as part of our approvals. So thank you for listening. So on our last slide here, we have EMVCo's website. So for more information, please visit our website. If you have questions, if you're looking for documentation, if you have other just general information you're looking for, we have a whole host of information on our website, from our specifications to FAQs, seminar and meeting details, as well as information on our approval processes. So we have all the sections there for contact and contactless, our whole mobile process, our guidelines, our administration documents up there for you to easily access. Also, please consider becoming a subscriber, or you can look into our associate program. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. If listeners have any further questions, please contact us via the EMVCo website.